Okay, so here I am. I have a blank drum machine. I want to add a few drum sounds and make a drum beat. So before I even proceed, I know that I want to put some notes in the clip. I'm just going to double click in the middle of this empty clip slot to create a blank clip for myself. I want to add a kick drum, and I think I want a mixture of synth drums and samples. So where C1 is, I'm going to press plus, takes me to my pop-up browser. What sort of thing do I want? Bitwig comes with a series of synth drums. They're E drums. These are basically synthesizers that are fine-tuned to make percussive sounds. So I want an E kick, and if I play this, okay. So again, it's inside of a drum machine, so I have to play C1 to trigger this sound. All the other notes don't trigger it. And that's quite loud. That's quite loud. So let me go ahead and just turn that down. Okay, cool. Now, what's nice about using drum synths is that they're very flexible. If you know anything about synthesis, tweaking these different parameters can help you dial in a very specific sort of sound. If you don't know much about synthesis, you can just turn knobs and have fun. But the big thing here is this is essentially a sine wave with a very quick change to the pitch to make this sound like there's some sort of impact. The pitch modulation here, how much does that pitch get modulated to give me that impactful sound? Now you can hear it almost sounds like a laser zap. How long does it take for the pitch to decay from that high value to the pitch that I actually want to hear? Okay, we can adjust the curve. How long does the tone decay for? Maybe I just want the impact. And then I can tune this, and as I adjust the tune knob at the bottom of the screen, it'll show me the actual pitch. Right now this is set to F sharp 0, and most of the time I want my 808 tuned to G, just in case. Okay, cool. We got that. Without much further ado, I'm going to load a clap here and shorten the decay, increase the width. Okay, not bad, not bad. And then I also want to add my little E-hat, because I like using this. Go from a closed hi-hat to a nice open hi-hat, or a shaker. We can easily change the tone, the metallic sound. All right, so a lot of flexibility when you're dealing with synths. But sometimes you might want to have, like, you know, a more typical sort of sound that's sample based. So I'm going to go here and let's go ahead and search for a clap of some sort. And in fact, yeah, these are drum hits, but I specifically want to find an audio sample. So I want to make sure we're looking for, oops, I didn't mean to hit the X. I should have kept that. Let's just go ahead and type it up here and preview. That's actually not bad. Let's just go ahead and load that right there. And you see that comes in a sampler. Okay, so now I have some sounds. Cool. Now, what I'd like to do is introduce some note effects. So I'm going to do this relatively quickly, and I'm going to start off, let's say, with maybe the hi-hat, okay? One of my favorite things to do is utilize a device like an arpeggiator in order to generate a hi-hat pattern that I can easily change. If I'm going to use something like an arpeggiator, what that'll do is take any notes that are held and then play those repeatedly in some sort of order. Usually you would use that for chords, so instead of the chord sustaining, the notes in the chord will play one after the other. But if you hold one note down, it works just as effectively. So this is what I'm going to do. Before the E-hat device, there's a plus. This is going to take the MIDI note that I play and do something to it before it hits the instrument. So when I press here, where's it going to take me? It's going to take me to note effects, because that makes sense in this context. The note effect I want to use is the arpeggiator, and there it is. If I wanted a preset, I could click the arrow, but I don't want a preset. Right now it's set up for 16th note, so if I just hold a note down, I get 16th notes. If I wanted to mess around, I could change the sync right here. And that's something I could either automate or I could modulate it because Note Effects also have modulator slots. All right. But for now, let's keep this simple. In order to make this work, all I have to do is just draw a sustaining note into my clip. So let's press play. All right. So for my drum machine here, there we go. Should only be showing the notes in my drum machine. Here's my hi-hat, and I'm just going to sustain this. All right. Nice. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go to the clap, and I'm going to use a different note effect here in order to generate a pattern with this. One note effect that I like a lot is note repeats, which, as you can probably guess, is great for this sort of thing. Let's go ahead and add it. There's 3 different modes here. With no pattern, you can basically just generate notes at a certain sync rate and choose the probability. There's also burst, but I'm going to use Euclid because now we can generate a certain number of notes that are evenly distributed. And this should be nice. So again, I need a sustaining note because as I hold the note down, it'll be fed to that note effect. So this pattern is going to my clap. If I want to change the pattern here, the density, how many notes, rotate it. Nice. Okay. Last one, actually last 2. I'm going to use 2 different effects in combination for the kick. One of my favorites that I'll just show briefly, I won't go over in too much detail. One called Ricochet, where every time a note is generated, there's a ball that's here and it bounces off of the sides of this polygon. And every time it does, it triggers a note. The thing is, when it does this, it's not always going to be quantized. So I'd like to follow this up with another note effect that will quantize the notes. Here's quantize. All right, and I want the quantization set to 16th notes. So every time I play a note for the kick, it'll come out and do something like that. All right, so last thing, let's just go ahead and generate one single note for the kick. And here's my drum pattern. All right, and obviously I can do some more to play around with that, but we're getting that pattern with 3 sustaining notes because we're using note effects. Again, this just shows you a bit of the creative workflows possible with Bitwig.